It's time to configure the real webinar live page, where your visitors will finally watch the actual webinar video. Once again, we can activate the split testing feature. You can create different versions of the webinar live page so you can test which one generates more sales. For example, you can create two twin webinars, one playing a shorter video and another one playing a longer video. And the webinar analytics will tell you which one of those two scores more sales for you. But right now, let's keep things easy and let's simply create one single live page. Here's where we enter the full URL of your pre-recorded webinar video. Now, since this is probably a rather beefy and long video, you want to choose a reliable hosting service such as Amazon S3. And also make sure to enter the video width and height. You can also choose whether to automatically redirect your webinar attendees at the end of the video. For example, you could redirect them to your sales page so they can go ahead and place their orders at the end of the webinar. Now, moreover, for tracking purposes, you need to select at what point through the webinar video you start pitching your product. So let's assume that you don't start talking about your product until minute 15 and 20 seconds into the video. You will see later on how our tracking script integrates this data into the built-in analytics report. Okay? The jump forward feature. The jump forward feature is what forwards a webinar attendee further into the video if he arrives late to the webinar event, just to make sure the whole thing looks real. You know, it doesn't look real if the webinar video plays from the beginning, even if they arrive late, right? So, the way our webinar software deals with it is by recognizing if an attendee arrives late, and if so, a secondary version of your original webinar video will be played for that particular attendee. Needless to say, for those who arrive on time, the original video is triggered instead. Now, obviously, you can keep this feature turned off, so even if they arrive late, they will still watch your original webinar video from the start. So, like I said before, if you enable the jump forward feature, if someone arrives late to the webinar, this secondary video will play for him instead of the original one. So, what you want to do is to edit your original video with whatever video editing software of your choice and cut out the initial introduction from your original video. For example, let's imagine that your original webinar video lasts 45 minutes, and that's the full video your attendees would watch if they arrive on time. So let's imagine that for those who arrive late, you want your original video to start streaming straight from minute 3 and 20 seconds into the video. So what you would do is cut the initial 3 minutes and 20 seconds from your original video and encode it as a whole different video, and then upload it to your server or to your Amazon S3 account or to wherever you host your video files. So, if your original video URL was, for example, www.yoursite.com videos, my webinar video MP4, the URL to this secondary video would be something like www.yoursite.com videos, my webinar video late MP4. You get the idea? All right, so to sum it up, if an attendee arrives on time, this video will play for him. On the other hand, if he arrives late, this other video will play instead. Simple, isn't it? Oh, and by the way, there are a lot of free video editing softwares out there that you can use. Just simply search Google for free video editing software, and you'll find plenty of softwares that you can use. Okay, let's talk about delayed events now. Delayed events are buttons that appear at one specific time through the video. I'll show you what I mean. For example, let's set up one delayed button that enables our webinar attendees to purchase our product. So, let's imagine that we want to open our order cart at minute 20 and 10 seconds into the video. And therefore, we want the button to appear at exactly minute 20 and 10 seconds into the video, and it will disappear at minute 30 and 5 seconds. All right? Let's enter a text line here, such as buy now for only $97. Now let's make that big and red. Now, as far as the graphical look of the button, you can either upload your own button design or use any of our built-in button designs. Let's keep it simple and go for the Add to Cart button. And finally, we need to enter the link attached to that button, and this should be either your sales page or your payment cart checkout page. Let me now introduce another feature, polls. You can introduce polls into your webinars in order to make the whole experience appear to be more interactive. It will make the event more real. So let's see how this works. Okay, let's say we want to introduce one poll. The title for the poll will be Diets. And the actual question will be, have diets worked for you in the past? Let's pick 3 possible answers for our poll, along with the desired percentage we want to predefine to each outcome. Please bear in mind that this is a pre-recorded event, and therefore the script will not really be counting up your attendees' votes. It's basically a simulation. So, for the first field, we type, yes, they work for me. And the predefined desired outcome will be 10%. The second option will be, no, I never lost weight with diets. And let's make that to be a 65% share of the votes. And finally, the third poll option will be, I don't do diets. And we'll give that a 25% share. Now, needless to say, all 3 must add up to 100%. So, just like we did with the delayed events, we need to tell the script at what point exactly in the video to display the poll. So let's say that we want the poll question to appear after 5 minutes. All right? So we set it for minute, 5, and 0 seconds. And then let's say we give our users 1 minute to cast their votes. So that means the poll question or questions are to disappear at minute 6 and 0 seconds. And then at minute 6 and 30 seconds, we pop in the predefined outcomes for the poll. And finally, at minute 8 and 0 seconds, we pop out the poll outcomes. So yeah, polls, if used properly, can be a powerful marketing tool in our webinars. Okay, let me now explain the attendee list, which is the list of registrants displayed at your webinar broadcast room. Now, first of all, you can either display the attendee box or you can hide it altogether. If you go for it, you have 3 models to pick. You can have the attendee box to only list random names from the fake name list down here, or it could only display the names from your real attendees, meaning real people who've actually registered to your webinar, or you can have a mix. The first 2 options are self-explanatory, really, so let me focus on the third option, okay? Let's imagine you decide to display up to 100 names in your attendee box at the webinar broadcast room. Now, let's imagine that only 10 actual real people have registered to your webinar. Well, just so your webinar broadcast room doesn't look too empty, the script will place those 10 people at the top of the attendee box, and then it will fill in all the spots from number 11 to number 100 with fake names from this list. It will just pick a bunch of random names from here. And by the way, if you're targeting a local market, like for example the Spanish market, then make sure to select accordingly in this drop-down menu. Otherwise, if you're targeting an international crowd, simply go for mixed. And finally, we need to configure the chat box through which our webinar attendees send their questions. Now, there are 3 options here. You can either have all the incoming questions automatically redirected to your email address so that you can answer them one by one at your own convenience. Simply insert your email here and all the questions will be sent to you. Alternatively, you can actually interact with your attendees in real time by embedding a live chat into your webinar room. You will be online at the other end of the chat, so you can address their questions in real time while the video plays along. If you decide to go for the live chat, you need to select whether you want an open chat or a private chat. And the difference is that in an open chat box, all comments are publicly readable by all webinar attendees, whereas in a private chat box, you, as the webinar admin, will be the only one reading your attendees' lines, meaning that they will not be able to interact with each other, only with you. Now, on one hand, a live chat might make the whole thing truly believable as a live event, but on the other hand, you need to be online at the time of the webinar, so it's entirely up to you which route to go for. If you want to schedule a truly 100% set and forget webinar, I recommend you to simply redirect all incoming questions to your email address. Regardless of whatever option you go for, make sure to enter your real email address here. We have also included a live chat simulation feature, so that your live chat box displays whatever lines of chat you want at whatever specific time through the webinar you specify. This will make the webinar event look very much alive and kicking, with real attendees participating in the event. Here's how you configure it. In the dashboard, select the live chat option and enable the delayed chat lines feature. Then simply enter, one by one, the different lines of text you want to pre-schedule. Type in any made-up random name, enter your desired line of text, and then at what second exactly through the video you want this line of text to appear. This is super useful because you can pre-configure a perfectly timed question and answer session at whichever specific time you wish through your webinar video. For example, let's say that at minute 20 and 15 seconds in your webinar video, you disclose the price of your product. Let's say, for example, $197. Well, you could, for example, have a delayed chat line go off at minute 20 and 20 seconds saying, "Can I pay through PayPal?" And you could set the corresponding answer to go off a few seconds later at minute 20 and, let's say, 25 seconds, saying, "Yeah, sure, we accept both credit card and PayPal payments." Now, since this answer should be coming from the webinar presenter or administrator, you want to type admin or host or something like that in here, and then mark it as admin's comment so it appears in red font in the chat line. Here's another example of how to use the delayed chat line feature. At the beginning of your webinar video, you would probably want to welcome everyone on board and to thank them for attending to the webinar event, right? Well, you can schedule a few lines to go off during those initial seconds to create a warm feeling among your audience. Moreover, you can enter random chat lines to go off at random moments through the webinar video, like, this is very interesting, or cool tips, thanks for sharing, etc. And that will turn your static webinar into a lively event that will encourage real attendees to participate themselves in the chat too.